Welcome in, everybody. It's Main Street Today time. I'm Devin O'Day, and my sweet, sweet friend, my homegirl, she and Tammy Arender and I we boast from coming from the same neck of the woods. And you're in my neck of the woods, in our neck.
I am, Devin. I'm down here in our old stomping grounds. I'm in Bossier City, Louisiana. We're down here visiting family and celebrating my husband's birthday. So, it is hot. Woo, 100 yesterday, over 100.
I know. We laugh. Somebody said to me that they complain about the heat anywhere else, and I'm going, I'm sorry, but you ain't never felt heat like home. I said I told Faith when my sister, I was home recently, and I said, it's like living in the Congo.
Yes, it's so swampy and hot. You know, we have humidity in Nashville, but it's a different kind of thing. You know, I mean, down here, it's another world, you know, but I love it. It's good to be back, you know.
Well, you look lovely, and it's so exciting. You are a fantastic writer. For those people that don't know, Deborah writes for all sorts of magazines, including Billboard, where you're a staff writer there. And one of the women's magazines, is it Women's Day that you do things for?
A couple of different women's magazines. First for Women and Woman's World. I just did
Woman's World. Okay.
World. Yeah, and I've got a Kristen Chenoweth cover coming up on First for Women. So it's fun because, I love talking about music and songs and stuff. But for the women's magazines, you get to ask them about their favorite makeup and get, beauty tips and exercise. So that's kind of been a fun detour for me in the past few years. So
love it. Well, one of the detours that you've done is music and curating and producing a collections for Cracker Barrel. And that's what we're talking about today. And I'm so excited because Country, Faith, Bluegrass, 14 songs of faith from today's leading bluegrass music stars. And I ain't joking. They are the stars.
Oh, thanks, Devin. I'm so excited about this collection because, as you know, you have been wonderful to support us in the past. This is our 10th Country Faith album. It's like 10 already. I mean, it's so incredible. It's been so many years doing this. Isn't that wild? But what makes this one unique is this is the first time that the preponderance of the songs are brand new. We've got 8 new songs and 6 classics. In the past, it's been mostly, classic songs. We put together compilations with maybe a couple of new songs, and we'd introduce a couple of new artists here and there. But this is basically all new stuff that I think people are going to be real excited about.
Well, let's talk about a single that's actually going to radio, and that was with the incredible Dolly Parton, along with Cordell Jackson, Sally, and Walker. You pulled on our friend Jerry Sally. Did he help you with finding some of these songs?
Oh yeah, Jerry wrote some of the best cuts on here. You know Jerry. He's an incredible songwriter, and he produced the entire collection, and it is amazing. And he's on a couple of songs. He and Marty Raymond do this incredible song. "My future ain't what it used to be, Lord." And I got to be in the studio and watch that magic. That was amazing. But yeah, Jerry's so talented, and he's just the nicest guy in the business.
Truly. And then there's this amazing, we've been playing a lot of the new project from Dale Ann Bradley and working on a building with Dale Ann Bradley. And who did she join partners with on this song?
Well, the Isaacs. It's the first time that, and they just got invited to join the Opry this week.
I know. And they've got that brand new album that's coming out tomorrow. Yep.
American Face. It's such a great record. So yeah, the combination of Dale Ann and the Isaacs is just brilliant. And they give working on a building like this swampy vibe. It sounds like a new song.
With Ben on bass on that, I mean, or that whole feel that he gives to stuff is Ben Isaacs he's a swampy kind of dude. I'm surprised he's not from where we're from.
I know. He is. He's great. And he, in addition to performing with the group, he is such an amazing producer. Like you probably know this, but he's producing an album on Dennis Quaid, a gospel album. That is going to be so amazing. Because, anybody.
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. Ben is just done so many great things.
Speaking of Dennis Quaid, I didn't realize this till I talked to him about after he did that I Can Only Imagine film, the Bart Millard story. Yeah. He was so affected by the story of Bart and all that. it renewed in him a faith and brought him back to writing, to music, and God awakened in him. It's crazy what music can do.
It is. It's been such a blessing. He's written some incredible gospel songs. He had, yeah, it's like he's got this whole other aspect of his talent that's been opened up, you know.
Well, Daly and Vincent, I gotta, because you picked my favorite song of theirs.
I love By the Mark.
Isn't that a great song?
It is. I mean, it always makes me cry, Devin. I mean, it's one of those songs that it's always powerful, no matter how many times I hear it. Getting all choked up thinking about it.
I know it's an incredible song. I remember I didn't know Daly and Vincent's music, and one day I was just listening to the radio, and that song was new, and I think it won Gospel Song of the Year for them that year. But I heard it like it was brand new, and so I'm going to play a cut from the Gaither collection. A live cut from one of the Gaither live shows of this song, and this song is on there, and I'm gonna share it with everybody, and then we're gonna tell everybody how they can get this project and where it is. Okay, hold on one second.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's very sweet. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And I love how that little sister was in the audience doing her whistle.
Yeah, I love that.
That was
Oh,
awesome.
that
Darren
song.
and Vincent.
Oh, I know. That
my-
song is so incredible.
I know it makes you tear up. And when Jamie Daly hits these notes, and what the two of them, and they're not straining. That's the thing. They're just woo. And it's so simple. Never singing hard.
Oh, I know. They are just amazing. I just love those guys. And they're two of the nicest guys in the business, you know?
And not funny at all. They're currently on tour, sponsored by our friend Gus Arundale and our friends at Springer Mountain Farms Chicken. Just love them. And let's talk a little bit about this amazing version of In the Sweet By and By with Dolly Parton, Cordell Jackson, Sally, and Walker. Oh, let's talk about that for a minute, because I want it at my funeral. I'm just going to say, just play that record.
Me too. Oh, Devin, it's just beautiful. And, you know, this is a version that Dolly cut that's never been released. So this is brand new, you know, never before heard material. And then, you know, Jerry is worked his magic and got him and Larry and Bradley Walker, who I adore. Like, if you're not friends with Bradley, you should be. He's amazing. It's
Deep,
so
rich baritone. Oh my gosh. Incredible.
Yeah. He's amazing. And we've done a lyrics video, which will be available a little bit later today. And one of the persons on our team told me that when Dolly saw the lyric video, she cried. She said, I needed to see this. That's just it's beautiful. Oh, my goodness. But her voice in that song, In the Sweet By and By, it gives me chills.
That single is out. But here's the project, and you can find it at Cracker Barrel. Will it be available today at Cracker Barrel?
No, the single comes out now, but the album doesn't come out till September 17th. It'll be available for all Cracker Barrels, and we got Vince Gill on there doing All Prayed Up, and Patty Loveless and Ricky Skaggs with Daniel Prayed. We got Del McCoury. Oh my goodness, a new artist, Kaylin Garner, that you're gonna love. He is just amazing, and you know, David, I always have to have Charlie. Charlie Daniels, I think, has been on every one of our Country Faith projects, and he closes it out with Walking in Jerusalem with Mac Wiseman and the Whites with him.
I got to tell you, just brought tears, because you and I don't think they have anybody in the world that is bigger fans of Charlie Daniels than you and me.
Exactly. I miss him so much. Remember one of the last interviews I did with you, he called in.
He was on it. Yes.
He was on it. And I'll never forget, because he talked about Country Faith, which was sweet and nice of him. But he also bragged on my son. Anyway, I'm trying not to lose it. Anyway.
I know. It's just, I've given, I just make sure I've got on my waterproof mascara, because I cry. And I knew that we were going to end up talking about Charlie. I knew we were, because he is, he was part of our lives. He took us in like family. And it was so sweet that day, because he said, oh, both my girls on there at the same time. And I'm just like, yes.
Oh, I know. I loved him. He was, you know, but we'll see him again. And it's wonderful to have that, you know, that faith and that hope and that assurance, you know.
It is.
Because there was nobody like him. I always thought all new artists should spend a week with Charlie, just to know how to do the business, and just how to enjoy it, and how to relate to people. He was amazing, you know. And
how to run your business and not let that business run you. He was a master at doing that and sharing that with people.
Mm-hmm. He was. And everybody, you know this, Devin, everybody on his team had been there 30, 40, 50 years. And that says a lot. I mean, his manager, David Corlew, had been working with Charlie 47 years. You don't hear that in the entertainment industry, you know?
Do not. Well, this is an amazing project, as they all are. Country Faith they're available at Cracker Barrel, but look for the brand new single, Sweet By and By, with Dolly Parton on the Country Faith Bluegrass. Deborah Evans Price, read everything she writes in every magazine. Just read it, because she's so good. I love you, my friend.
I love you too. You are too good to me, Devin. Thank you for everything.
You're my sister. And I always say, and you know, Richard Baxter, our journalism teacher from University of Louisiana Monroe, he watches this on occasional. So we have to give shout out to to him and to say thank you so much.
I know, boy, he taught me so much. My goodness, he was such a blessing, and it's cool because he gets to see the fruits of his labors.
You, me, Tammy Arnder, we're all here in this area, and doing what we train to do. So God bless you. You have a great rest of your day.
God
And happy
bless
birthday.
you too.
Happy birthday to your man.
I'll tell him that. Oh, thanks. He loves you. It's always good to see your beautiful face, honey. Thank you for doing it.
Likewise. Bye, baby.
Bye.
Take care.
Goodbye.
Now, I got to go and get my tears all taken care of because we're talking about Charlie Daniels, but we're going to talk about Elvis. Before that, I'm telling you, we're about to introduce Andy Childs, and y'all know he's just like the prettiest man God ever made. He's just pretty. But he's I'm going to put together, I'm going to play a video of a project that's kind of a passion project for him. I didn't know when I met Andy a long time ago, I just knew him as a singer-songwriter. I had no idea his connection to Elvis until I really started getting to know him and finding out the rest of the story. We're going to hear about it, but first, take a look at this.
During his career, Elvis released 3 gospel albums and 1 EP, and the only Grammy Awards Elvis received were for his gospel records. This legacy inspired the new gospel album, Where No One Stands Alone.
I'm very excited about the record that's coming at a time in my life where I do pray an awful lot, and I knew he prayed constantly. So I've gotten to the point in my life where I think maybe there's something to all this.
I think what everyone will hear would be songs that they know. They've heard Elvis sing these songs before. Chances are they have not heard the particular take that they're going to hear. They're going to hear it set to a new musical arrangement with new background vocals featuring a lot of the singers that sang on them the first time. And they're going to hear a record done the way that I truly believe Elvis would have done it if he were making a record this year.
I heard a lot of Bosom of Abraham.
We always call that song Rock of My Soul.
Well, you rock my soul. Down in the bosom. Rock down in the bosom.
Bosom of Abraham has always been one of the most fun records that I think Elvis made, and the give and take between Elvis and the background vocalists and all of their echoes and all has always been so much fun to me. And I got all of those original guys from the Stamps and from the Imperials to sing on it and duplicate what they had done before with a little different arrangement. But I was able to get Armin Morales and Jim Murray and Terry Blackwood from the Imperials and former members of the Stamps Quartet. I had Donnie Sumner and Larry Strickland, Bill Bays, Ed Hill. It was so much fun because Joel Weinshanker and I were in the studio with all 7 of these gospel legends, and we're sitting on this side of the glass and they're on the other side of the glass, and we had them all lined up. They made an impressive noise.
Well, a rich man lives. He lives so well. Children when he...
Jesse Houston is an amazing lady and just an absolute wonderful charm to be around. And when she opened her mouth, it was like an angel singing.
And grace will lead me home.
Darlene Love, she has so much energy and she has so much fire in her voice that she was just terrific. Saved was part of a medley of songs in Elvis's 1968 television special. It was the gospel medley. It was one of the most fun tracks to work on.
It was Elvis Presley, the man, not Elvis Presley, the star. So I really do miss him. If I had a chance to do it again, I would do it in a heartbeat.
When Joel approached me about working on the record along with John Jackson from Sony, Joel had already been talking with Lisa Marie about this record and the approach to it. The song that we collectively chose that she wanted to sing with her father was the song Where No One Stands Alone.
The words spoke to me and they're applicable to my life. And I know they're applicable to his life at some point. And the whole idea of that, kind of really made me lose it. Like, oh my God, and then I miss him and then I'm like, It was very powerful. It was just like, it seemed like it should happen right now. Like it's supposed to be happening.
To be sitting on the control room side of the glass, looking out there at Lisa, realizing that she was standing out there roughly where her father stood. How cool is that?
Man, Andy Childs, how are you?
I'm terrific. How are you, Devin?
I hope you don't mind I call you pretty, but you just are.
Oh.
And, you know, when people think about doing, huh?
I said at my age, just to be called at all is.
Stop. You know, when people talk about doing Elvis music, they assume that people who sing songs of Elvis and who memorialize Elvis, they've got to do the whole look, the jumpsuit and the way. You've just done it as you.
Yeah, when I used to sing on those shows, I don't sing on those things so much anymore because I'm so busy with my group Six Wire that you know, but I'm still producing shows for Graceland, especially during this week, which is called you know, it's Elvis International Week. And they have a lot of events going on down in Memphis at Graceland, and they have a new facility that they've built across the street from Elvis's house, where they have museums, restaurants, entertainment facilities, and a big sound stage where we do some really, really impressive live shows. It's pretty cool.
So when does all this? It's been going on all week, right?
It's underway right now. They have they do a contest every year for the Elvis impersonators. So they actually call those Elvis tribute artists.
Yes.
But that means kind of the same thing. I mean, it's just a little more respectful term for these guys that work really hard at what they do, with their costumes and their look and all. And they study the films and everything available to them to study. And then they, you know, put on a show, and they have a contest every year and try to decide who's the best one. It's interesting. That's going on right now. And it ends tonight is the last night for that. It's interesting because somebody asked the guy that is the CEO at Graceland one year, they said, do these guys really look like Elvis? And he says, well, he said, you know, they don't necessarily look like Elvis, but they look like each other. But I will say this, that some of those guys are quite impressive at what they do. And they all have their own followings. And I've met some of those guys. Most of them are just normal guys. They just love Elvis Presley music, and they wanted to play a role, you know, so to speak. So that's what they do. But the shows that I'm involved in at Graceland have nothing to do with that. They're actually, the one I'm putting together for tomorrow night is the 50th anniversary of what they like to refer to as Elvis's marathon sessions, which he did in June of 1970. We were going to do this show last year, but COVID had other plans. So we're doing it this year instead. And Elvis spent a week at RCA Studio B. He spent a lot of time at RCA Studio B here in Nashville. But in that particular week, the reason they call this marathon sessions is they recorded something like 35 songs in 5 days. And we don't usually do that. We can, but we don't usually do that. But they recorded 35 songs in 5 days, and all of those songs ended up on various Elvis albums. Some of them were more of a country album a country approach that Elvis was taking. But so what we wanted to do was get together as much of the personnel that played on those records. We wanted to get together in one room. So we've got a great house band that'll be backing everybody up, which includes Kerry Marks and Mark Beckett from the Opry, and Matt McKenzie and Dane Bryant. All those guys toured with Olivia Newton-John for a number of years. And they're friends of mine. I love to use them on this thing. So they're there being the house band. And then we're going to feature David Briggs, who is a
keyboard,
player and studio owner, record producer, songwriter, all of those things. He'll be there because he played on 200 of Elvis's records. We'll have this year for the first time, we're going to have Charlie McCoy, who is an musician. He played harmonica on tons and tons of Elvis's records. I think he told me he had been on 13 Elvis albums, including movie soundtracks, everything. And he was there during that. He not only plays harmonica, but he plays keyboards, vibes, a little bit of everything.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he's a wonderful musician and just a terrific guy. And then we'll have, of course, James Burton who arguably one of the greatest guitar players of all time. He played on tons of Elvis's records and also played live with Elvis from 1969 until the end of Elvis's life. So these guys will each tell stories, and then we will play songs that they recorded during those sessions that week. And we duplicate the original arrangements from the records. And we've got a couple of guest singers that will come in. Our friend Terry Mike Jeffrey, who's a wonderful singer. And Terry will sing some, and another guy named Dean, who's going to come in and sing some. I'm even going to sing one song just because I didn't want to pass up the opportunity. So.
Oh, you have to sing. Oh my gosh, absolutely, you have to. You tell me what it means to someone like you. Now, were you born, bred, raised in Memphis? Is that your?
Yes, I was.
How much does that mean to you to tie into that much of a legacy? I mean, that project where no one stands alone. I mean, getting to be in that room and do what you did on that project.
Yeah, I was thrilled to get the call about working on that project, and I'm glad that they asked me to do it. There are a lot of different producers that I've produced a few records, but that hasn't been my number one focus. But it's just that there were a lot of producers they could have gotten to do that record. But I was thrilled they called me because I wanted there to be someone in there that would be there to protect Elvis Presley and his integrity as a gospel artist, because he did a lot of gospel music and he loved it, and it was his favorite music to sing. And I wanted to feature those guys that had been on those records originally, as many of them as I could put together. And so I did, and it was fascinating to be able to do that. But the process of doing it was a painstaking process where we took Elvis's original vocals from the gospel records that he had recorded in the 60s and early 70s. And we took those original vocals from the original multi-track, and they had all been transferred to digital. And so I get these isolated vocals of Elvis Presley, and with the magic of technology and a couple of really, really great recording engineers, we cleaned up those vocals and got them isolated really, really well. And I wrote, along with some of my other guys, I wrote new arrangements for these songs to kind of update them. But I wanted to keep them in, I wanted it to sound like you saw in the video, I wanted it to sound like a record Elvis would record today if he was still recording. I didn't want it to sound like disco remixes or anything. I wanted it to sound like a record Elvis would make. And
Yes.
got a bunch of the greatest session musicians in Nashville to do it. And I got Darlene Love, and I got Sissy Houston, and we created a duet with Lisa that I recorded in LA on Sunset Boulevard out there. And so but the trick to doing it was that Elvis was so great and his performances were so great, and we were using alternate takes that nobody's heard. You know, Elvis would go in, would record, he would do 8, 9, 10 takes on a song. His take 1 might have been perfect, or take 2 might have been perfect. And so I might have used that because the reason they did multiple takes back then, the band might have missed something here and there, and they just did everything live. And Elvis he didn't like to overdub. He rarely did that. So most of the time he's in the studio with the band, and they would do multiple takes. I went back through all the takes, and I would sometimes use take 1 or take 2. And then, put it on a grid where I could do a click track and write a new arrangement to it so that the band could play along with Elvis. So we're kind of doing it in reverse order, but it worked out great. It's been a very successful record, and it was a #1 gospel record for Elvis here. He's been gone for almost 45 years and had a #1 gospel record last year. How about that?
It's unreal. And you know what is also magic about that is that you brought in players and you captured it at a moment, and some of those people are no longer with us, but you were able to bring them together and capture that magic.
Yeah.
And so I always say that whether something is a new record or not, it might be new to you. And if you don't know about that project, you need to get it and know what went into it. Before we get out of here, Andy, so the details, if people want to see you tomorrow night, can they still go to Elvis Week? They can make the trip to Memphis?
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure tickets are still available. We didn't, not everything is sold out because the protocols are a little different this year, but we are having the events. We will have a lot of people there. And it's at the Graceland Soundstage. And I have 2 shows I'm producing. Tomorrow night is the 50th anniversary of the marathon sessions. And then on Monday night, which is August 16th, and that is the day in history that Elvis passed away, 77. So on August 16th, we're doing another show where we have Elvis Presley on screen with his vocal live band on stage playing along with him. That includes James Burton and Glenn Harden, his piano player, the Imperials, Larry Strickland, who sang bass with Elvis, and he's married to Naomi, but he sang with Elvis for a long time on the road. So you've got a live show with a live band featuring some of the people that were with Elvis when he actually toured and appeared. But Elvis is on screen using footage from those concerts in 1970 and 1973. His vocal has been isolated from the multi-track, so it's like he's singing with a live orchestra. It's a fascinating thing to watch.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be incredible. So is there a chance that they can get a ticket to view online? Are they making that available?
Go to Graceland.com for ticket information and the schedule and everything. Graceland.com. That's the way to do that.
And anybody in the world that goes to Memphis needs to do the Graceland tour because they do it in a beautiful way. And they honor Elvis. And I will tell you, I was an Elvis fan, but I wasn't one of those kind of people who, screamed and cried at the gate every time I went in. I was a person who just loved his music. And I saw the tragedy and the genius of this man, how he gave so much to the world and had so much taken away from his private life that he was no longer able. You have all this fame, but he wasn't able to just go live life like that little boy from Tupelo anymore. He belonged to these people and he gave himself to the people.
That's all very true. And everybody that I've met I'm very close friends with people that were really close friends with Elvis. And I obviously wasn't a buddy because I was too young. I met him once. I was 7 years old, but I don't think he would remember it. But everyone that is close to Elvis that I know, they all have the same story. They all say that he was terrific. He was generous. He was fun to be around. He was complicated, very super intelligent, read books all the time. He's not that necessarily that shy, small town country boy as much as he was a very intelligent man. He knew a lot about music and read books all the time and all. It's like maybe not quite exactly what people's image of him was. He was a real guy.
Very real, very real. I tell you, there are 2 times on that tour that I cried. Once when I saw his VFW award, the one that he took with him, because he had such an allegiance to his country and to the troops, and stood by it and said, "I am not." He could have chosen not to serve his country, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And he was white hot when he did. He had every reason to get out of that. And the second time was literally the piano. When you go through the tour and you see the piano where he spent his last day singing songs of his faith. And I'll cry again if I start talking about it because it was so powerful to think his faith. And Tom Jones talked about it in his autobiography about how when you go to visit Elvis in Vegas, Elvis would come see his shows, but invite him to his room and they would sing gospel music, which is why later in his life, Tom Jones did a gospel album because of Elvis. But, hey, tell me about Six Wire before we get out of here. You are the busiest man in the world. Six Wire is always playing, from the Nashville TV show on to so many corporate events. And what's happening with Six Wire today?
Well, we just did the opening night concert for the Music Grand Prix. Since you know Six Wire, but the folks at home don't, we're a band that started out as a recording band. We were on Warner Brothers Records. We had a couple hits on the radio, but we continued our career being chameleons. We first started working as the house band on Nashville Star, which was a competition show. Spent a few months in LA working for American Idol, and then we did 2 shows at CMT, that Nashville dramatic series that we were involved in all the time. We work as sort of a house band, or a host band, I like to call it, where we back up other artists. For instance, on the Music City Grand Prix opening night, we had Brooks and Dunn headlining, and they just came out and sang with us. And we had Vince Neil from Motley Crue on the same show minutes before. And James Johnson was on that show as well, and several others. Coming up this week, you guys were talking about Charlie Daniels a few minutes ago. We'll be the house band for the Charlie Daniels Volunteer Jam. That's this next day night. And, you know, I mean, this is the first time that we've had a volunteer jam without Charlie in it. So it'll be quite a Charlie. So we'll be the house band behind the Gatlins, Johnny Lee, Lori Morgan, Chris Young. We'll be playing behind everybody. And then the week after that, there is a concert the night before the ACM Honors show. It's going to be in the amphitheater. And we'll be the house band that night as well. And we'll be backing up Keith Urban, Trisha Yearwood, Carly Pierce, Lee Bryce, Mickey Guyton, Tenille Towns, everybody that's on the show, Sam Hunt. So we'll be doing that. And then we have a special birthday celebration on September 7 for the great Steve Cropper, another one of the great.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Turning 80 years old this year. So we're doing a special birthday celebration, and we've got some incredible guests on that show. James Burton is going to come help us out. Felix Cavalieri from the Rascals. I mean, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be nuts. And that'll be at the Ryman Auditorium on September 7th. So we have a lot on our dance card right now. And but we're glad, you know, last year we didn't get to tour as much. And so this year we're back, and we're busier than we've ever been.
Truly one of the best bands that you can ever find anywhere is Six Wire. And you can play in any genre. You can play in any time period, any decade. Just pick one, and Six Wire can do it. In fact, I have a little clip. It's actually an audience clip of you guys playing. I want to say it was at 3rd and Lindsley, but it's you guys doing a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to close our show with that. How can they find out more about you, Andy?
They can go to sixwire.com. That's the easiest thing. SIXWIRE. It's one word. It's a made-up word. Sixwire.com. Or they can go to andychilds.com, and ANDYCHILDS.com. And then you can find us on InstaFace and Facebook. All those. So.
Well, I just do yourself a favor and do a deep dive and follow. I had all sorts of clips pulled of you, and I'm going to close with Six Wire because it's just so much fun. There, I had Elvis clips pulled, and there's this great duet that you can find on YouTube with you and Kim Carnes.
Oh yeah.
Don't Fall in Love with the Dreamer. That is just fabulous. So I encourage everybody to go and enjoy your music. Thank you so much for this time today. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Call me anytime.
Absolutely. You take care. Bye.
Days are longer. Thank you.